Hello and welcome again to another Wellness Way USA podcast. I'm your host, Jeb Odom. Today we have in studio with us Martha Odom
Baby boomers are represented.
and my daughter, Haley Odom. Today we're going to speak about vaping along with some other topics. We're going to try and keep anonymity, not anonymity. So, but we still want to try and get this information to you from the horse's mouth, so to speak, a person that has quite a bit of experience with vaping products and using vaping products and other things related to vape. All things vape today.
And selling vaping products.
Okay, so we like to do an article. You want to read that to us today? You got it? Can you read it? Oh, let me get it for you.
I don't have it.
Let's see if I can find out where it was. Okay, this is from The Blaze, November 18th, 2019. Headline reads, Elementary school child hospitalized after group of teens storm school bus to attack children in Georgia. Police later arrested 4 students in the assault. One was an 18-year-old non-student. Another was a high school student. 2 were middle school students. So it seems like they had 3 students and 1 adult. So, how do you guys feel about that? You know, being on a bus and you're, 5, 7, 9, whatever age you are, and you're getting attacked.
Terrible.
Don't you wonder what the motivation was?
Yeah, you do. Maybe they were trying to get their vapes.
Yeah.
You think the young kids? What's the youngest age you ever saw a kid have a vape?
Like 6th grade.
6th grade.
Wow.
Just getting into the old middle school.
Yeah, but most kids try to sneak a cigarette around 5th or 6th grade.
Were cigarettes as popular growing up? What there's the things you shouldn't do that kids wanted to do, Haley?
I mean, to an extent, I saw it a lot, like when I was a freshman and a sophomore, like the classes above me, there was no vaping at that time. Vaping really, like with Juul, got really popular in like my senior year especially. And now you can see it's everywhere. I mean, it's like crazy, but all the seniors and stuff, while I was like a lower classman, they definitely were like smoking cigarettes, dipping, whatever, because there was no alternative.
Maybe 70% of the kids did it?
I didn't have that many friends, so I don't know.
A true Odom.
You'd always see like they'd be hanging out around the school, not on grounds, and they'd be smoking like at their car or something, which I'm sure a lot of them at that point were old enough to purchase it, but that, you
Still not supposed to have it at school, right?
Yeah, I mean, or even really around the school grounds or in your car or anything like that.
That's very generational, because when I went to school, we actually had a designated area to go outside to smoke in. It was called the smoking den.
I didn't know you smoked.
I didn't. I just watched them out the window.
You just acted like you did to get the break.
No, I didn't want to be around the cigarette smoke. Both parents smoked. So
that's funny, because when I was a senior and I started smoking cigarettes after, switching from chewing tobacco, I would always leave at lunchtime and I'd go sit, outside of the school grounds and smoke cigarettes. And I did it the whole year, and they finally caught me at a certain point, and I was like, there's no smoking area. I'm going to smoke regardless. I'm not going to smoke in the school or on the school grounds, and y'all have smoking area. So I just left.
Is there still smoking in the bathroom?
No, but there is juuling in the bathroom. Vaping.
That seems to be common, right?
Yeah, it's
kids say I need to use the bathroom, but they're going to hit the old
I mean, like when I was a senior, I literally would see people like charging their vapes in class, and the teachers were so ignorant they just didn't even know what it was. It was like everyone would just start laughing whenever they plugged it in the wall, because it really just looks like a USB drive, certain devices, and it's like the teacher doesn't even know, and it would always be funny.
So most kids, out of the vices, vaping, smoking, chewing tobacco, alcohol, drugs, what was most prevalent?
Vaping.
Vaping.
Yeah. I mean, it would even be, kids that you wouldn't even think would do that. Like you'd have the kids who, their parents had a lot of money and like they had scholarship, being, like they're generally good kids. You don't see them like out doing dumb stuff all the time. Like those kids would have vapes, and it's like, wow. But they're like, oh, I would never smoke. It's like,
Okay, so for the people that don't have a lot of time to listen to the entire show today, give us the basics on vape safety. Now, your expertise is what? Give us your experience and expertise first, and then follow that with vape safety. We've had it in the news a lot. People, having the
Right.
lung transplants, terrible looking lungs case. I think I read a few headlines. Doctor, worst case I've ever seen. So, where is all this coming from? Why is it all of a sudden hitting the news?
I'll give you all my nicotine experience first. I dipped for 4 years all through high school. When I turned 18, my senior year, I started smoking cigarettes for about a year, and then I started vaping. I started vaping to quit smoking originally, and I'm still vaping now. So for over a year, I've been vaping, and I've also sold vape products.
At a retailer.
At a large retail store,
Mhm.
yeah.
That only sold vape products.
Yes. So vaping is definitely safer than cigarettes, but it's not safe, especially for people like even my age that are under 25, because it does contain nicotine, which can it does mess with your body. It messes with your blood sugar. It messes with your stress levels. Being addicted to something, period, is not healthy, period. The main difference between the two is there's no carcinogens in vapes, specifically nicotine vapes. There's no carcinogens. The only ingredients in good quality nicotine vape juice is going to be propylene glycol, which is found in food, vegetable glycerin, which is found in food, flavorings, which are also found in food, and nicotine. Those are the only 4 ingredients. But I'm sure everyone knows that a cigarette has over 7,000 different, cancer-causing chemicals, when in a vape there's no cancer-causing chemicals, because nicotine does not cause cancer and there's no tobacco in them.
So where's the problem? Where are these people going wrong? Where did they make the bad choice?
This big thing that's been going on is it was a vitamin E was found in certain vape products.
Like vitamin E oil?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the closest thing we could
a
compare
carrier
it to.
for the nicotine.
This was not found in really any nicotine vaping devices. This was found in black market marijuana vaping cartridges.
Oh, so this wasn't even what most parents would be afraid of.
Yeah, there were kids in high school that had these products. I mean, everyone can get these products if they know where, which I don't recommend any type of off market,
unregulated.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to put anything that you don't really know what it is in your body, especially when it's something this dangerous. But
yeah, even if parents agree that maybe they think marijuana's not terrible, or nicotine's not terrible, you still need to get those from a reputable source.
Yeah, in the legal way, especially because most of these people that they had their lungs falling apart and stuff from this vitamin E in these cartridges, they didn't buy them from a dispensary. I mean, they were buying them, from a friend or something like that. And they, they're like, oh, this is from a legal state. And it's really someone just filled that up in their basement and you don't know what's in it. And it's really scary because the cartridges have become really prevalent. A lot of people will be, vaping the marijuana products, and it's unless you're getting it directly from a dispensary, which some people don't even live in a legal state, you don't know what's in it.
And not only that, from what I know, a dispensary usually would be regulated. Yeah. But you also, that dispensary where they get their products from should test the batches.
Yes.
And those batch tests should be made available to you so you know what you're getting.
Absolutely.
Now, you can get the wrong product even if it's legal.
It's true.
Even if it's legal, concentrates, we'll call them, because this is probably where it's coming from. Legal concentrates are used in different ways. So you have smokables, you have vapables, I guess you would call it,
right.
And then you have ingestibles, and those ingestibles a lot of times have that vitamin E in it. So unless you know what you got and how you can use it, you might be causing yourself a problem that was never intended to be a problem. I.e., if you used an oral product for smoking, and that's where the big issues happen. So they may be ordering products they don't even know it's not even the right format.
Right.
So what else did you find about the vaping that people would need to know about?
I mean, it just the main thing that I think it is, I just wish that I had never gotten into nicotine products, period, because nicotine is like super damaging if you're under 25. I mean,
And how,
it's terrible.
as a parent or a grandparent, can you convey that to a generation?
Yeah, how do you tell
Dan,
you,
how
how
do you
would
tell-
you advise, since you're kind of maybe in between now, how would you advise maybe parents that are our members, parents of kids, how would you advise them to speak with them about it? What would be the something they might listen to?
I mean, you definitely can't be angry. You can't really like come at them the wrong way about it. I mean, like you got to be really open with your kids regardless, because if you're strict on your kids, they're just going to be really good at being really sneaky, as I can tell you from experience. And a lot of other people I knew through school that had strict parents, it was like, the parents may think, oh, my kid's so great, doesn't do any of these things, but then I hang out with them and it's not true. I would just recommend, don't come at your kids the wrong way. Don't make them feel like threatened by any conversation that you have with them. If you're really open with them, then they'll be open with you.
And parents might want to keep in the back of their mind that 70% of the kids are doing this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
so they're going to
some
think,
of the numbers
hey,
on this are crazy.
Everybody's doing it. They're not just saying that; they
Well,
really are.
And if you find a vape in the car, and your child tells you, "Oh, that's not mine. That's somebody else's."
Yeah.
How do you get to the truth? Do you have to do fingerprints, or what do you do?
I mean, you can pretty safely assume that it's theirs and just know that. I mean, you don't want to force your kids to feel like they can't tell you things. I mean, of course, no kid wants to like tell their parents like, oh, I started vaping because I thought it was cool.
Because then they'll have to stop.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, the thing about vaping is a lot of people think it's like easier to stop than cigarettes or dipping, and it's like I really just went from one source of nicotine to the next.
Trade-offs.
Yeah. The best thing though I will say about the vaping is I'm able to control exactly how much nicotine intake I have. Whereas with a cigarette, I mean, you can get a light, versus a red, which is like just has more different chemicals, or the filter's a different way, but you really can't control what you're taking in. But with the vape juice, like there's a million brands, which there's only like 2 or 3 I would even recommend, because I work, selling those products for so long, and I know which ones are really trustworthy on their quality control. But you can control your nicotine intake. Like there's different types of devices, and there's all different levels of nicotine, like concentrated juice. So like when I started vaping, I was at like a 50 milligram, which sounds like a lot, but it was the same as a cigarette hit. And now I'm down to like 25 in a year and a half. So it's a slow process. I think everyone that vapes wants to work towards like a 0 nicotine juice, which is really not even unhealthy for you at all, because the main unhealthy thing in vape juice is nicotine, and if you got 0 milligram juice, there's none in it. So I think that's the goal, is working towards no nicotine, maybe just like that hand to mouth like thing that you have when you smoke or whatever. So
yeah, the habit.
Yeah.
So what about crossover with this info? We are all aware CBD has finally been approved federally. Most CBD is vaped, I assume. It seems like, or oral, probably one or the two. CBD, do you want to dive into that? Do you want to make a whole show out of it?
I mean, we can talk about it a little bit. I think CBD is great, but one thing I've noticed is people who ingest it, they'll get different effects. Like if you, let's say, like vape some CBD.
Wait. Tell the old lady what CBD is.
So in the hemp marijuana family of plants, there's 2 main chemicals. There's like, I'm not going to pronounce them right, but like the tetrahydra or whatever is the THC. That's the psychoactive compound. And then I think it's cannabidiol is the CBD.
Yep, cannabidiol, yep.
Yeah, that's just like it. it really is almost like a relaxing chemical. It doesn't have any psychoactive effects. It doesn't make you like quote high or whatever, anything like that. Kind of just calms your nerves. A lot of people, it helps them with stress and anxiety and stuff like that. Some people, it doesn't even affect them at all. You know, it's weird. I've had people come in, you know, tell me that they've used like thousands of milligrams of CBD and it did absolutely nothing for them. But then you have some people that use like 10 and they're like, wow, I went right to sleep.
Yeah, it's very individualized. You know, it's no different than cannabis itself.
Yeah.
Now,
Um,
don't they make that cream that you put on like your arthritis and
Right.
all
They
that?
make-
And they
That's the
make it
same
for
thing, yeah.
dogs.
They make
Yeah.
patches, they make creams, they make edibles, they make out of the edibles could be different forms, gummies, brownies, cookies.
Now, does that have that vitamin E oil in it too?
If you eat it, it's okay. And you have to have some sort of carrier fat, you know, that's the easiest way to say it. Or else it won't be processed in your stomach well and you'll lose most of it. So, so the big thing that I've seen, my personal experience with trying to purchase CBD for, you know, pains or trying to sleep better, things like that, is it's confusing. And you have
It
to,
is.
like you're talking about paying attention, like we talk about how to pay attention to food labels and things like that. It's almost impossible to choose correctly.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of things to CBD too. Like, there's like, I can't remember the exact number. It's something like 15 different chemicals of CBD. Like, there's CBDN, CBDA, CBDT.
You're
It's
right,
not
right.
just one.
Right.
And some people, when
That's
they,
where you have the full spectrum or
Yeah,
the
so-
isolates.
a lot of people will use it for a long time and they're just getting like, you know, cheap, not the best quality stuff. Maybe they're even getting it from a gas station, but then they finally try some like full spectrum product and it works great.
So, price wise, how much does it cost?
It depends on the quality you want. I would advise no one ever to buy anything like that from a gas station. Please don't. It would be terrible. But if you're buying it from a reputable source, or maybe even just like if you find a good company and you order it directly from their website online, that's what I would recommend. It can range anywhere from like a 250 milligram can be like $35, and then like up to 1,000 milligram could be almost $100. Which for a lot of people, 1,000 milligram would last them months and months. Like if it was a tincture being used like that, or even a vape, because a lot of people that vape it will mix it with like a 0 milligram regular juice just so they can stretch it out even farther. It really depends on what you get. I would definitely recommend, like, if you want to start with it, a tincture, though. I wouldn't start with like the gummies
that
or
means
anything
oral,
like that. Yeah.
Right?
Or
Yeah.
that's
Now
a
they
liquid?
do
Is
they
that a
do
liquid?
have tincture means liquid, but there's two different forms usually.
Yeah.
There's one that's designed to go in a vape.
Which would have a VG-PG mix. So
Explain
vegetable.
that.
So you have like.
This is important because this is where people will make the
Yeah.
mistakes.
I mean, now here's the thing about it. If you, like, let's say you accidentally buy, instead of just the regular, like, tincture of CBD, and you accidentally buy some that has VGPG in it, you can still use it the same way. It's not going to hurt you. Vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol are both found naturally in foods, you know, and other things that we eat all the time, and they're really just not dangerous at all. Like, I've, you know, seen people that will buy, like, a specific vape juice for CBD of a reputable brand and whatnot, and they will also use it orally, and they have no problems because there's no problems.
yeah, I've
with
done
it.
that. I've
Yeah.
taken the vape and taken it orally.
Yeah,
too.
and it's kind of a good thing because it's like, oh, I can vape it and see if that works for me. However, if it doesn't, I can just use it orally.
It seems like the vaping is a little bit. You seem like you get a more potent dose
Yeah.
for the same amount.
I mean, it's
So,
straight into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For people that might have tried the tinctures and then don't work, they might have to switch to a vape.
Yeah, but it can still irritate your lungs.
Yeah.
Anything you inhale is going to irritate your lungs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
Right.
If you wanted to vape it and your lungs are easily irritable, I would say use a really low milligram, because once you get into that like really high milligram stuff, it's just dark, thick juice because of the CBD content.
Yeah, and
It's gonna
that's
hurt.
natural of any cannabis product.
Yeah.
You're going to have some bronchial dilation. You're
Yeah.
going to feel some things happening.
For
It's
sure.
not comfortable, but it usually only lasts a few seconds.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing I've learned is definitely, like, if you're vaping or anything, and you're gonna, like, it's happened to me a million times, I'll hit my vape and someone will make me laugh. And it's like if you laugh when you're exhaling anything, it is going to hurt like crazy. So like if you're like hanging out with buddies, y'all are laughing, you know, vaping, whatever, just exhale
Take
everything.
a vape break.
Yeah, exhale everything before you laugh, because it's caused me severe pain.
Okay,
before.
now, so we have to be careful about when we choose a CBD product, what form, even if it's a liquid, what carrier oil it has.
Mm-hmm.
So the good carrier oil to vape would be
propylene glycol vegetable glycerin. That's
okay,
it.
and the bad one,
Vitamin
do
E.
not use as a vape.
Yeah, vitamin E.
Vitamin E.
Which you wouldn't even see that on the ingredients, because obviously, like if you're buying a vape product,
What does it say to let you know that it's smokable? There's a term, right?
it usually will just say e-liquid for vaping.
E-liquid, that's the big one.
Yeah,
That's the one you'll see the
for
most.
vaping. That's
Right.
what I've always seen on boxes.
Now you told me that you kind of had a little bit of inside information about clones of products side by
Yes.
side, even at distributorships.
Yes. When I worked at a vape shop, we had a big distributor that was in Georgia, and we paid higher prices for certain items because they were like more highly sought after and whatnot, or they were higher quality, or you know, they're even harder to get because they're imported or something like that. And I witnessed, you know, we would FaceTime the distributor, and actually like they could show us products because, you know, we had a good relationship with them, and we could see products without even having to go, you know, all the way to Georgia. And they would have pallets of products that looked the exact same, and it was literally like the real product on one pallet and it was the fake product on the next. And it was for people that were like, oh no, like we want the cheaper whatever, because they're just trying to make money off of it. And they would get these fake products that come from the same distributor. So that's why I always tell people, buy it directly from the manufacturer's website. Like if you're going to buy especially CBD products,
Right.
like you don't want to go through a third-party source, because I've seen it, you
Right.
know.
And then look for those lab tests.
Yeah.
And make sure, and we said this before with our supplements, when you check lab test results, they should be tied to a specific product, the specific flavor, the specific
Yeah.
batch.
And
And
it's about 10 pages long,
that
the entire
date-
lab report.
Has to jive within, I would say, within 6 months, or else you're talking about a whole different batch,
Oh, yeah.
because it's a crop, and
Yeah.
those crops are grown usually, I think, 4 times a year minimal.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could do it more often if they're doing, you know, indoor growing or things like that. But so pay attention to those details, and if you have questions, you know, you could email us, or you could, if you have our app, if you're a member, you could text us through the app,
Yeah, I'm on the app too.
and you could also watch our podcast. So Mom,
The only
how would you make a choice about
the only vaping I have ever done is Vicks.
Well, you have a, and that's basically eucalyptus and peppermint, usually something like that.
Vicks Vapo Rub.
That's
Now-
great. Or you take a shower and you throw some eucalyptus in the shower.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you've never tried a vape?
No,
You have a lung problem
I have,
too,
I
right?
have asthma, so I have done the asthma medicine and having to take a hit off of my inhaler, and so that's as
The
far
original
as it goes.
vape.
The original vape, yeah. You go to the hospital and to have a breathing
Yeah,
treatment.
those aren't
Yeah.
fun. Nobody
No,
enjoys
nebulizer
it.
Albuterol will
sucks.
give you a high like nothing you've ever had.
That's a steroid. So, yeah. Anything? You have any other information that you might deem important, Haley, that we could get across?
Just my main message is nicotine is never healthy for you. I mean, I use it. It's not good for you. You know, it spikes your blood pressure. It does all sorts of things to your brain, especially if you're under 25 and even a little bit older than that.
So it's a form of a toxin.
Yes. I would, though, urge people that, you know, are having trouble quitting cigarettes or any other form of tobacco products. I mean, you can try it. It's not going to hurt you. You just got to be very specific. Like, make sure that everything you're getting is from a reputable source, you know, not like ordering it from some weird internet site. You know, you want to try and order everything directly from a manufacturer online, even if it's a bit more expensive.
Right.
Because
Usually
it's-
they are.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's you're talking about a $5 difference on something, maybe even as much as 20.
So price
But-
shopping is not advantageous
No,
in the vape world.
If you see a good deal at a vape shop, run. I mean, really,
Don't buy from the sale rack.
No, don't buy from the sale rack. I mean, I've heard of people going to like bigger cities and finding vape products, and they come back and they're like, "Oh, this was this much cheaper over there." I'm like, "Let me see it," and I look at it. It's obviously a fake product, and it's like I get really scared about people doing that, because it is possible that the nicotine vaping products could also at some point become very contaminated, like these THC ones are.
Are you aware of? Do people mix this CBD
Yes.
stuff on site? Is that supposed to be done?
I have not seen CBD mixed. I think that people do it. It is definitely not supposed to be done. The same thing with nicotine vape juice. If you go into a vape store and they have like quote house blended juices that they're making in the back room, that's terrifying. Like I get really scared that people actually will use stuff like that, because that's the like root cause of why we see like these bunk THC cartridges that are killing people.
So there's no oversight is the main issue. It's not that they're trying to do anything wrong.
There's no
usually.
factory control. I mean, they're really just trying to save people money with cheap vape products.
Even if they try and do it right, they might not do it right.
Yeah.
We're talking about something you inhale directly into your lungs.
Yeah,
it goes
and
directly
you're
into your
talking about,
bloodstream
like,
and your brain.
Vape juices are made like in a lab, like in an actual laboratory. Like if you look at any box of
The
reputable
CO2 extraction method.
Yeah, I mean,
things like that.
It's literally on the box. Like it should tell you the exact lab it came from.
Okay, so how now of tobacco and CBD extraction method, does it matter? Is that something we should worry about, or is it all pretty much the same?
I wouldn't know that much about that.
Okay.
I don't think I've really heard anything about that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there, like Tylenol, when you get a bottle of Tylenol, there's like 6 ways to get into it. You got to take the top off. You got to peel something back. You got to pull something out of it. And then, then you finally get your Tylenol. Is there a seal on this?
Absolutely.
Oh,
so
good.
If you, like whenever I order mine online and it comes to me, it's always like you push down on the bottle and you'll hear it click when you open it. Obviously, if something is easily openable, doesn't click, doesn't have that safety thing on it, don't buy it, don't use it, don't
and
put it in your body.
can you send it back?
If you can't send it back, I would say buy it from a different source. But if you're buying it directly from the manufacturer, they shouldn't have an issue. A lot of vape stores and stuff are like all sales are final. So I would, that's another reason I'd recommend going through the manufacturer. Because if you go into a vape store and then you walk out and you're like, oh, it was already open, and you come back in, they're going to be like, dude.
Yeah, and then, ordering the CBD products wasn't really legal until recently.
Yeah.
So now it's legal, so they can ship it across state lines. For the military people or people that are being drug tested, be careful.
Yes.
It is. I have read reports of CBD causing false THC positives.
Yeah, all because there can be trace amounts.
And I've tested it myself with home tests when I was taking CBD, and the ones that you recommended to me, and the ones I found online from reputable sources, companies that were very well trusted, that promoted their results of their testing and things like that.
Right.
Never tested positive, not once.
Yeah.
So you can buy the cheap at-home tests if you want to double check. If you're going to try some CBD, it should show up fairly immediately.
Right.
And then that way hey, okay, what they say is what is correct, and they're not trying to. But really, if you order from a reputable source, you're not going to have those doubts, because they list how much THC is in it, and it should say 0. You can get away with like 0.3 or 0.03
is the legal limit.
Yeah, so 0.03, you're still not going to test positive.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to like use your body weight times like 50 to even have that
just
pop.
To check if you're going to try and use these. Now, I read today that military members are supposed to not even use CBD.
Yeah.
Because of that, and I think it's terrible, because it's not the fault of the consumer; it's the fault of these suppliers that
Right.
aren't, they're not helping themselves in the long run, because they're going to have a more limited market if the military can't use it. So maybe if you are one of those people, just think about it in the long term. Try not to think so short term, because there's a lot of competition right now, and there's people trying to gain market share, but at the cost of you're going to actually ruin your market on your own by doing these things that aren't right. Number one, aren't right, and number two, probably aren't legal. So
yeah, and you're putting people in a lot of danger.
Yeah, I would never want to have to live with that.
No.
That I tried to save a little money, and then destroy someone's life, take away
Right.
someone's parent or child.
Well, and also, you got to look at the teenagers who are just trying to get something that they can get.
Yeah.
And I would assume that cheaper would be better for them, and um, probably a not good source.
Yeah, so you
is
think
gonna
of
be easier.
who's gonna actually realize these problems. More likely is going to be someone with limited resources
Mhm.
that may not be getting it legally. Whether we're talking about vaping, tobacco, or CBD or anything else. So maybe have that talk with your kids about, hey, okay, I know you're not vaping, wink, wink,
Mhm.
because they're going to tell you that. But at the same time, let me tell you the truth.
Yeah, like you're risking your life
Yeah.
if you're not using
The truth
good
is,
quality
and I'm not
products.
trying to scare you, the truth is this could be an issue.
Yeah,
And you could be ruining your lungs for life.
yeah.
And guess what? You can't go sue that person off the street that you bought it from
No,
to get
Mhm.
your lungs back or to try and get some transplant money.
right.
So yeah, let's be safe. And if you have questions, you can contact us, and we'll find resources for you if we can't answer it
I
ourselves.
do have a question.
Sure.
I noticed that recently Walmart has discontinued carrying the Jewel pods. For what reason, I don't know.
So what happened with
What
Juul?
about this whole Juul fiasco?
So when Juul came out, they
In your
went
opinion?
crazy. I was working in the vape shop when Juul went nuts. I mean, it was like we got them in. We're like, oh, cool, like a new product, like a pod based product, and all of a sudden we could not keep it on the shelves. I mean, it was crazy. Like within a year of Juul like becoming a company, they took I think 70% of the vaping market. 70% of an already established market they took control of. It was crazy. Like everybody was using it, and a lot of people liked how convenient it was, but it was a bit too convenient, to kids being able to tell someone, hey, can you give me a pack of Juul pods from the convenience store or whatever. And it's, people, it is safer than cigarettes, but it's still nicotine. It's still addictive. So people didn't have as many issues like buying it for underage people.
So
And I
Jewel
saw-
does
It's
have
easier to
nicotine.
hide.
Yeah. So Juul has like in a Juul pod that's like a normal 5% pod that has as much nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. So ideally, if you smoked a pack of cigarettes before you started vaping, you'd smoke like one pod a day. When I started using Juul, I went through like at least one pod a day, sometimes two. I mean, they're really small, but it was like that's how nicotine dependent I was, which now I don't have that much nicotine, So it was really scary because they said that Juul was marketing to children. What they had done was they put an ad like on YouTube and whatnot that was like college kids using it. And so they said, oh, they're marketing to children. And all of a sudden, all the Juul flavors, so like the mango, the creme brulee, the mint, cucumber, everything except the tobacco flavor and the menthol flavor got taken off of gas station shelves specifically. Because gas stations are a lot more likely to sell to underage or to people that are going to give it to underage than like a vape shop. Because when you work in a vape shop or you go into a vape shop, it's immediately as soon as you walk in.
A little more controlled
Yeah, like
environment.
you have to have an ID to even go into those stores, whereas at a gas station, it's like anybody. And, you could have some kid working at a gas station that really
It's
doesn't
harder
care
to
that
catch
much,
things.
So
You got more traffic,
yeah,
in and out of the store.
right.
So, yeah.
So the Jewel is a pack of cigarettes in one
Pod.
Yeah, unless you get I think it's 3.5%, which would be, almost half that amount.
Okay, so when you say you I don't know, the addiction to nicotine has always interested me. What do you feel that is your addiction to nicotine?
Like physical effects?
Yeah.
I really only feel it first thing in the morning at this point, but it's like I'll take that first hit when I'm laying in bed and I get like a mad head rush, and then I just kind of sit there for a second, and that'll go on for about 20 minutes. I'll be able to get that effect, but then the rest of the day it's kind of just like habit.
Okay.
It doesn't really do anything to me at
And
this point.
that craving feels a lot like when you want to eat, when you're really craving like a dessert.
Like when you drive past KFC and you're like really just
Yeah, but it doesn't
dying
go
for
away.
it. Yeah.
For like 5 minutes
And
at
you
a
can
time.
get a headache from
Yeah.
it. I mean, I've gotten like, sometimes I'll like see how long I can handle it in the morning, and I'll be able to make it to like noon before I even hit my vape. and it's like I'll get a massive headache because of my dependence. So I that's one reason I won't quit cold turkey, because I really have enough headaches already. I think I have a
The
migraine
side effects
issue.
of quitting are too much. all
Yeah,
at
and
once.
it's easier to just like go down and down and down in nicotine,
Step
and
it
then
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
instead of just cutting yourself off cold turkey, because it would be really annoying to have to deal with those effects, which is cool because with cigarettes you can be like, oh, now I'm gonna smoke lights, but it's like it's not even, there's no real difference.
So going back to the question of why do you think Walmart is removing Juul?
They had to. I mean, they had no
It's
choice.
a political move. They don't. You don't want to be the reason that you can't go to Walmart. So take
Walmart
away things that are controversial.
Walmart is great at carding people. I think they're one of the best like grocery stores when it comes to IDing people. Like even if like you go into a Walmart with a like let's say you go in with your parent and like they buy alcohol, they're gonna card you and your kid. Like they don't care. So that's one good thing, but I think it was just like they see that like the vaping like with kids is crazy. Like it's crazy how many kids are actually using.
And if you're
nicotine products
marketing
now.
to mainly families, which Walmart we would assume is,
Absolutely.
then you don't want to hurt your market. So you could see why they'd be out of it, even if it wasn't political.
Now, is there other vapes that you can buy at Walmart, or was that it?
I think you can get like the blue e-cigarettes there, and they have
It's like a completely sealed.
Yeah, like a few disposable ones. Like once you use it for a day,
the
or
battery
two,
and everything is in it.
Yeah,
you can't change.
Oh, is that the ones that blow up in your face?
No, let's. The only ones I've seen or heard of like that blow up, and if you read when you read a headline, read the article.
Yeah.
No, I want to just look at that picture with his teeth all gone.
Yeah, and then that was actually, if you read it, they modified the battery.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen people I had people come in the store that their purse caught on fire because they had the 18650 batteries and they didn't keep them in a sealed case, plastic hard case in their purse.
Touching
and they touch metal, the keys or something, and they blow up in their purse. That's crazy.
Whoa.
Which is just, you're not being
It's a
safe
regular
about it.
watch battery, or something larger, but it's still the same thing. They stack watch batteries and wrap them. That's how a lot of batteries work. So, you just got to pay attention to the things you're doing.
Right.
Pay attention to where you get them,
And be
how
informed.
it looks. If it's fishy, it might be.
Okay, so school. Let's talk about school again. You can have them. You can have them or can't have them.
You can't have any nicotine.
Okay, so you can't have
campus.
anything.
I don't think that you're technically, even as an adult, supposed to bring it on campus.
Okay, so does that mean the parking lot? What if it's in your car?
Anything that's school property, so like the football field, you couldn't have them. In your car, couldn't have them. Like anything like that. If they look through your car window and they see you have a pack of anything in there, they have rights to like search your vehicle, which is why I never parked on campus in high school. Always park across the street. Also, there was never any parking. So,
but so you're telling me that let's say campus police officer, if he sees one of those Juul pod things, just like by glancing in your window, they're gonna. Do they have dogs that smell his stuff out?
He could just at that point search you. I mean, even if like someone goes to the office, let's say, and says, "Hey, I was in the bathroom and this person was hitting a Juul," then like they have rights to search you. And if they find
reasonable suspicion,
if they find you with a nicotine product on campus, no matter what type it is, I think like you get like a 3-day suspension or something.
No matter what, even if it has nicotine or not.
Whoa.
Yeah, like if I had like a vape with
I've
no
seen
nicotine, still like you're gonna get in trouble for it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, do you like imagine get a ticket or
kids selling it to other kids could be a problem too, even if there's no nicotine.
Is that a offense?
Like selling it to other kids.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you got
get
caught,
expelled.
Yeah, they'd probably be a harder thing to catch, though.
Okay, now I'm going down the road and we stop at a stop sign and I see this huge bunch of smoke coming out of a window.
Somebody blow a radiator?
What has happened? No, it comes out the window.
Oh, it's ethylene glycol, not propylene glycol.
So what is that big bunch of smoke?
It's just the vapor. The cool thing about like vape is that the vapor actually evaporates in like under 10 seconds.
I know, but it shoots out the window like
I mean,
we're looking at 911.
It's a form of water vapor.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It'd be like if you took a tea kettle and like it was making. A
But
bunch of
how
steam
does
or
so
something.
much come out of one person?
There's some powerful devices.
charged.
Yeah, it's all the way
They can
charged.
up the amperage to basically, as a, like when you boil a pot of water and
Yeah.
you turn it all the way up,
Yeah.
it smokes more or
Yeah.
steams more. It's the same principle.
Yeah, I mean,
smaller
and
scale.
there's two types of vape devices really. So like the Juul, that's going to be considered like a low wattage device, which means it has a higher nicotine content, but it burns really low. Like you see me, I use a low wattage vape, and there's not a lot of smoke that comes out of it really.
Right.
And I mean, most times when I exhale, you don't even see anything because I hold it in for 6-7 seconds, and by the time I exhale, there's nothing. But when you use like a sub-ohm device is what it's called. That's
Sub-ohm.
That's like the big bulky vapes that you see people
it
with.
sounds cooler.
It does.
Yeah.
It does sound cool.
Those are the mods.
Is that what gives you the Darth Vader?
Yeah. And those vapes would use like a 0.3% vape juice, all the way to like a 0.24, which I wouldn't recommend going above 0.6.
So eventually people have like car batteries with a tank
much.
associated.
It's
you
crazy.
want like super amperage.
Yeah, it's crazy the things I've seen people use. I'm like, man, it's excessive, really. Like,
Well, I mean, but they want to do it to be cool, I'm sure.
I guess, there is competitive vaping, which has never made sense to me because it's not
competitive
there's
vaping.
Even if you want, here's my take. Even if you want to ingest a product that I feel is beneficial, like CBD, right? It's hard to argue that it's not beneficial. You still don't want to be vaping all day long.
Yeah.
That's going to cause some problems.
Yeah, it can. Definitely. I think that's why the goal is ultimately to work towards no nicotine.
Yeah.
Because I noticed like when I switched to a lower nicotine content, I vaped way more.
Yeah.
Like,
and that didn't help.
Yeah.
Really, did it?
Which now it's gone down because what I've noticed is like when I was using the 50 milligram juice, at a certain point I got sick because it was so strong. It'd get nicotine sick.
Okay, what is nicotine sick?
You just get dizzy. You feel like you want to die.
Almost like the chewing tobacco.
I don't know if everybody knows
Ooh.
this, but like nicotine is highly poisonous. Like if you slip somebody like actual nicotine concentrate like in a drink or something,
we're not advising you to do this.
No, but it's like it's dangerous. Like that's why they say be careful with your vape juice and whatnot. Because like if a kid gets a hold of it and they just like drink
or
it,
your pet.
Yeah, or your pet, especially if they ingest it, they will die. Like, it's very hard to reverse nicotine poisoning. So, like, really, when you ingest too much nicotine, you get, quote, nicotine sick. You're really just, like, overdosing on it, which is, like, kind of scary. But, like, your chances of dying from inhaling it are, like, very, like, nothing pretty much. But ingesting it, definitely, it's very dangerous. Don't ever drink vape juice or even put it in your mouth. Just vape it. Don't ingest it because you get very, very sick. And a lot of times it's like by the time you get to the hospital, there's nothing they can do. So nicotine is very poisonous. You got to use it safely. I would not recommend people to use very high milligrams, especially in those big bulky vapes. That's why like you can use a 24 milligram juice in a sub-ohm giant vape, but you're going to get really sick from it. Like there's no need to use more than a 6 milligram because of how much smoke you get. So, it's
the more smoke, the less strength you want to use.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if you have this big beefy modded up vape,
scary machine,
souped up hot rod vape, you got some slicks on your vape.
You straight piped it.
You do your vape
what
burnouts.
What does straight pipe mean?
No, that was a joke. Like you do.
Like Leah, take the mufflers off. You know what that is.
Yeah, I just don't know anything.
Most people don't put the pipe on; they just take the muffler off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that does not do good for gas mileage. But anyway,
it definitely affects your O2 sensor readings. Well, Haley, thank you for your expertise, and we look forward for you joining us on other editions of the Wellness Way USA podcast / radio show. Mom, thank you again. If you have any questions, please email us at wellnesswayusa.com. You can use the email address info@wellnesswayusa. I am Jeb Odom, your host. Thank you for joining us, and God bless.
Damn, Haley, you